All right. Hey, we are on a new episode of Talking Shizzle. I'm super excited to talk to Kristin Jackson today. Hey, Kristin, what's up?
Hey, great to be here.
Good to see you. Happy New Year. Happy 2025.
We made it.
We
2025, baby.
we made it. We're still here. So you and I somehow got connected, I think, through a mutual colleague and friend. And you are the CEO and co-founder of FreeSpoke, a search engine, which I am super interested in learning about, sort of like your co-founder journey, and then talking about the mission of FreeSpoke. So, and kind of sharing with our listeners today, I think some new things about search and the world of search as it relates to their day-to-day life, and then also as, marketers, what search might mean for them. So
Mhm.
give us a quick rundown on kind of who you are, what you're about, and what FreeSpoke is about.
Yeah, so Kristin Jackson, co-founder, CEO of FreeSpoke. It's a bit of an interesting founder journey because in my case, my co-founder, Todd Ricketts, was really the visionary. He said, I'm out here in the world, I'm traveling around the nation, and I'm seeing that people just don't trust the information they're receiving from Google. I see an opportunity. We need to build a search engine to compete with Google. And we had built another small company together. And so I had to ask a few times, like, you're really serious, right? But what was unique there is he led that initial angel investment. So we had the resources out of the gate to build a strong team, lay a foundation. And we did. We've built the search engine. We're in the world. Everybody can go to freespoke.com, similar to free speech, freespoke.com. Check it out. And we do three things different from Google. We always protect your privacy. So you are the customer and not the product. We always show you both sides of an issue. So whatever you're searching for, you're going to see content labeled left next to content labeled right. And we are the only pornography-free search engine.
And we're going to get a little bit into each of those things. I kind of want to dig into all three of those things. When did you guys start?
Started in 2019, building the team. So it's been 6 years.
Yeah. Okay. What
And
are
we have
some of
traction. I do want to say out of the gate, because sometimes I
Yeah.
don't. And people are like, oh, yeah, you built a search engine. How
Yeah.
cute. And so by the time I can get to like a traction slide, we're like, look, we have a regular user base. We had about 1 million monthly active users, and we've
Okay.
honed in about 700,000 really active monthly active users, visiting about 10 million visits a month, generating about 4 million searches a month. So we have this active user base that's coming, returning, searching, and we're producing revenue through a premium offering. So you can sign up for premium. People are choosing about 3% of people who download our product through their app store, they sign up for premium. So we're getting some good traction that way.
What's the difference between premium and free?
The main offering right now is an ad-free experience. So we
Okay.
built a unique ad blocker into your mobile app. So when you download FreeSpoke, you make us your default browser. It makes us your default search engine throughout your phone. And then when you're browsing throughout the web, searching through articles, reading content through your FreeSpoke app, you won't run into any ads anywhere.
So I want to talk through some challenges, like, okay, starting from the ground up, saying we're gonna compete with Google, like that's a big lofty statement. What are some of the things that you have found don't work as you're trying to tackle this really big audacious goal in a market where there's already like a couple of main players that you're up against?
That from a marketing perspective, what we have found really works is a message that says, we show you what Google won't. And we've had many marketers say, don't define yourself by what you aren't, don't name your competitor. But every single time, it is the highest performing message that we produce through our marketing, social media outreach, Facebook, Meta, Instagram. So what we're finding there is we're tapping into an audience that's already skeptical of Google. We didn't have to do any work there. That market existed. People are sitting there saying, well, yeah, I Google it. That's where I go get my information. But that insecurity has already seeped in where people are thinking, well, if it's a kind of a controversial topic, I'm not confident Google's going to show me that full story. So The people we get in front of where they see, oh, the search engine says it's going to show me what Google won't. They come in, they try us, they see these different viewpoints side by side. A, they trust us because we're not putting a thumb on that political scale. And B, they give us that benefit of the doubt. People feel like, you're right. I wouldn't have seen this in Google. And they stick around.
What about, is Google the main one you guys do messaging, I would say, against, or like, are y'all also sort of like doing any plays against other, Edge or just other, like
there's
other
a path to
places?
call out DuckDuckGo. So DuckDuckGo is really the main competitor that got out of the gate to pull some market share away from Google. They have about 70 million users, 2% of the market share, and they're producing quality revenue through privacy-friendly advertising. That's their approach. The issue with the way that we could hit DuckDuckGo is their privacy, but then I forget, it was a couple years ago now, 3 or 4 years ago, where it became public that they had the sweetheart deal with Microsoft. They're basically Microsoft being with privacy built on top. But as a result, they were leaking all of your data to Microsoft. It was clearly part of their contractual arrangement was that Microsoft would get this data. So all of these individuals who went to DuckDuckGo believing that they could trust them, now that's, a chink in the armor of trust. However, from our perspective, like, we are going after the giant. We're going after the Goliath. It's Google that in 2000 created a new standard where you are the product. Every click you make, all of your eyeball time online is being leveraged to make money off of you. And that's a model that Google put in place and Meta followed, et cetera. So we're going after that Goliath.
How do you guys fit into like AI search results now? So like, I don't know that we'd plan to necessarily talk about this, but then it came to mind and it's so top of mind for me on like a daily basis.
Yeah. So DeepSeek is in the news very heavily right now, upending the AI market. So for people who don't follow it as closely, you've had your traditional US companies who've really been laying this groundwork on generative AI, the ability to take a query and generate a result off of that. We've invested so much as a nation and so much in these companies to build that we expect that to be a huge investment. China just came out, entrepreneur in China created DeepSeek, which is really upending the way we're looking at AI and saying, oh my gosh, you can do this cheaper and faster. What does that mean for the future of AI? So there's just so much opportunity in this space, and FreeSpoke is very well positioned to step into these open models and take this faster approach based, it's helpful to not be the first in. We can learn from everybody who paved this ground and take it and run with it. So how FreeSpoke looks at it is we have these differentiators in our product. We always show you an index that has right and left side by side. We're bringing in podcast search. We have it in a beta right now. So in late February, March, you'll be able to search. And when in your search results, you'll see snippets from podcasts. And you can just play and hear that snippet or go listen to the whole thing. And then we're working on kids-specific index to help parents understand what content aids kids' development, supports kids' development versus is kind of that sugary brain drain. So we're taking our novel index in addition to the large language models that exist and creating our own unique generative AI. So as you follow the trajectory of FreeSpoke right now, we're pretty blue link, like we look a lot like Google, but we'll have that Perplexity generative AI feature.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's changing things for a lot of organizations around their how to get found on the internet strategy.
Yeah. People want that quick context answer. And then what we're seeing and what Google has seen, we have a lead engineer who came to us from Google. People still want those blue links to be able to feel confident and kind of do that extra digging themselves to understand where it came from. But that quick and easy summary is important.
Totally. I read it, but I also then click in like every time. I don't take that as like, this is the end all be all. So, okay, let's talk about your 3 differentiators. You always have left, like you label things, and I've looked and done searches and everything and see like how I can look at an article or a result and it'll be labeled left or right. I think it actually just says left and right. Is that right?
It does, correct.
Is there a neutral?
There's a middle.
Middle. Okay, middle. How do you guys like define that in terms of like when you're showing results? How does Free Spoke's engine know that something
Mhm.
is left leaning, right leaning, or in the middle?
So we use widely established methodologies to label at the publisher level. It's very important that we want people to know we're not willy-nilly creating these labels ourselves, which then ruins the trust, right? Like you're
Yeah.
like, where is this coming from? Why would I trust you? I don't trust anybody. I don't trust you either. So ad fontes is one. All sides is another. There's a couple others that have done the work to create a methodology on how they label left, right, or more towards the middle at the publisher level. So we take those
Okay.
widely established methodologies, we apply the labels through our back-end technology, and then we make sure when you search for something, you're going to get something from both sides. So you never get stuck in one echo chamber.
Is there ever anything that comes up with no label, or does everything have a label?
Currently, if it's a news product and like a news URL, it will have a label.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm thinking, what if it's like a medical study or something like,
This is where
where
we're
it's
headed as
yeah,
a company. Yeah, or like
yeah,
sports. Like our sports
uh-huh,
content, like news
okay,
articles still have a label because that publisher does have a determined bias. But when you're
uh-huh,
reading about sports, you're like, is it really? So the
yeah,
future of FreeSpoke, people know us because they know they can come to our product and always see both sides. So when you're kind of insecure, like I had a friend saying, yeah, like I wasn't sure on the story around inflation. This is a couple months ago.
mhm,
So I went to FreeSpoke just to see what both sides were saying. So it really is a both sides offering, but as we take it to the next level, it's really find the truth. And where can we do this in all these different areas? So maybe for sports, I don't know if you in particular are a huge sports fan. I'm a Chiefs fan, which makes
yeah.
people not like me too
I
much
really don't know
recently.
anything about sports.
But if I use an example of as a sports fan, it'd be really cool to be able to see how the Chiefs are covering
Yeah,
this game and then how the Bills covered the same game, right? To be able to see both sides. And so it's not a political lean, but there
yeah,
is two sides to that story. So there's not always going to be two sides,
yeah,
financial. We look at how we can provide that unique. It's really an offering to cut through the chaos because people
mm,
feel like they have more access to information, but they feel less informed. So, how can we take those different topics and say, okay, on this topic, here's how to help people structure it so they can feel more informed?
well, I think it's fascinating because when you go and I think people do get down echo chambers, like, they go to one news source all the time for all their news, and, like, if you go read I
Yeah.
think it's really important for people to read both, and
You're
so
just
this makes it
happier.
easy for people to see both kinda side
Yeah.
by side.
It's hard for an extreme position to really sustain itself once you have an opportunity to see a rational explanation of the other side. It just helps you. It doesn't mean you're going to change your point of view. You're just
Yeah.
like, oh, well, it's not
Oh,
all evil and crazy on the other side. There's kind of a
right.
rational thought there. So it helps you just not be angry, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. Well, and I think it's just like it's important to do due diligence, to not just take
Mhm.
everything that the media is putting at us and just say, "Oh, that must be right." Well, I don't
And
know. Like,
truly,
there's
our
always
nation was founded on debate.
yeah.
Debate. Our founding fathers debated each other over the years and back and forth, and there was never a misunderstanding of the other side. Like they knew the other side so
Mhm.
well, they could spit it back out in a debate and debate it, right? Like that's what made
Yeah,
the future stronger. And so it's just like it's a basis of debate. You can't debate
yeah.
somebody if you don't understand deeply and respectfully their point of view.
Well, I think people are just so misinformed on both sides. Like, if you go far left, far right, and people like angle in like a far direction, I think you're just generally get misinformed about a lot of stuff. And I think that happens on both sides
Absolutely.
of the political
Absolutely.
spectrum.
And I would go back to the Goliath that we're fighting because when those platforms are trying to produce quarterly revenue, the only way they're producing more revenue every quarter is by getting more money out of you, your eyeballs, and your
Mhm,
clicks.
mhm.
How do we get more money? How does the platform, not us, because we don't do it this way, how does a platform get more money out of you when they're just monetizing your eyeballs and your clicks? They drive more fear,
Yeah,
more extreme, so
yeah,
you're more likely to click and get that fear and go down those rabbit holes. So we have
yeah.
to pull all of those layers back and monetize the product differently.
Yeah, yeah, and it's funny, you see it in social media too, like people leaving Twitter, and going to Blue Sky, and I'm like, "Well, then you're gonna go to." I still think you should look at both, because now if you go to Blue Sky and it's just everyone who left Twitter,
Right.
like, it's gonna become an echo chamber over there, just like Twitter is an echo chamber in the opposite
Yeah.
direction,
You really
so
need both in the product. You got to break. The only
yeah.
way to break through is to show both sides.
Yeah. So let's talk about kids. Do you guys have a kid-specific browser right now?
So we haven't launched it. We have a clickable prototype on what a kid-specific browser search engine. It's really a search engine, but you do have to control that ecosystem through the browser for a
Mhm.
child product. We have a product that we're testing, and we're seeking. We have a lot of feedback, so now we're in a
Yeah.
phase of getting it out there and getting 100 parents to say, yes, I'm in on this. I'll pay
Mhm.
$60 a year to help kickstart this thing and get it up and running.
And it's probably something that you would go to, like, school districts and systems and say, like, "Hey," especially with so much online remote learning now. I mean, there's a lot. I know my kids have gone to school, like, literally twice this year because we've had so much snow,
Snow.
and they
Oh
do a
no.
lot of online remote
Remote.
learning,
Yeah.
and they have, their school laptops with has programs and stuff locked down, but then they still tell me stories about, like, this kid found porn on his school laptop, and so, like, let's talk a little bit about that, because I think that's really interesting too, and
I
really, really relevant.
I think what's helpful for a general population to understand, we didn't go into this with some high and mighty, we're not going to show porn. We got into
Yeah.
building a search engine, and we learned that online pornography is the third most common form of sex trafficking. So according to the National Human Trafficking Hotline. So what that means is, of these women who call in and say, I'm stuck in this sex trafficking situation, a third of
Mhm.
them are being exploited through pornography.
Mm.
It's just an interesting, like, eye-opening situation. I
Yeah.
always was like, if these women are choosing to do that to make money and spend their time, like,
Yeah.
me coming down on them through a product isn't going to, like, change anything. But what that statistic tells you is these many of these women are not choosing to be there. They're getting trapped in those situations.
Mhm.
So at that point, we were like, we don't want to be a part of continuing that abuse. And
Yeah.
then Pepperdine Law Review statistic is that 1 out of 5 pornographic images is of a child. So we know
Mhm.
that child sex abuse material is very rampant. It's a huge problem. A lot of big tech is trying to tamp down on it, but it's just spreading rampantly throughout these platforms. So that's what really got us down this path. Is we're like, we're just not going to show this adult content. Why? Once you step back and think about it, why do you take the back room of a video store? Like,
Mhm.
we put it in a back room for a reason when you had to go rent it. We
Yeah.
put it on the front of a search engine and hand it to our children.
Yeah.
And it helps you realize, like, okay, you can be a proponent of that adult content and not put it at the fingertips of these 8-year-old boys who are
Yeah.
finding it, getting addicted to it naturally because their neural
Yeah.
pathways haven't fully formed yet. So they're forming their pleasure centrals around this content that they see that's very aggressive. We can go into all those details.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of the passion. We're like, wow, this is something we can help change the tide.
Yeah.
And make sure kids have a product where they can search that the bad content isn't coming up with the good. And now we're interested in taking it to that next level, because there's content that can feed productive creative brain activity at that young age, and then there's
Mhm.
content that's more like that sugar high that just kind of turns you into that mind numbing
Yeah.
scroll. So how do we work together with some experts, similarly to widely established methodologies for labeling political lean at the publisher level?
Yeah.
We're working to find those partners who can label content that supports and develops young brain activity, and that is more of the sugar high, so parents can help navigate that space.
Yeah, it's so hard as a parent now. I mean, I've got a 14-year-old, and so you're sort of at this crossroads, like when it's time to, like, have a phone, not have a phone, and pretty much
Scary.
every kid has a phone,
Yeah.
and then there's so many reasons where it makes sense to allow them to have a phone,
Mm-hmm.
and at the same time, like, you hate it. But one of those things is, like, you just see the kids. I see it, my own children, on their devices, their friends, how it's like that to like the point where like we're driving home from school and it's like it's just YouTube short after YouTube short, and I'm like, turn it off. I cannot hear
I
that right
know,
now.
yeah.
Turn it off.
And it's forming how these kids are thinking
It
and
totally is.
how their endorphins get hit and kind of what they expect life to produce, right? It's training.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's go. Okay, I want to go a little bit deeper on one of your cornerstones is privacy, and you mentioned that at the very kind of beginning of this conversation. Tell me a little bit more about how Free Spoke is protecting people's privacy when it comes to search.
So, quick background, what we really see in this online platform space is a move into privacy, and then from privacy into specialization of that platform. So, DuckDuckGo showed that people will make a move and change their search engine, which is a big step for people based on privacy. So there's a market there. Apple, I was, watching sports last weekend, and they're really doing these huge pushes on how they protect your privacy. So it's interesting to see kind of that societal shift to start thinking about it. We out of the gate, we just knew that the company would be co-opted and people would become the product again. And if, if we ever went public or, if I pass away at some point, somebody else is running the company and there's just this incentive to make more and more money and you can do it through taking people's data, you're going to abuse people. It's just, we've seen it happen. So as a result, we just drew a very hard line out of the gate. Searches will always be anonymous. We will never manipulate a search result based off knowing who somebody is and what their insecurities are or what their history is. Like we're just the recent and relevant information to that search query is what you'll receive. It will never be pulled from your data.
Now, as a user, I can still go see my search history, right?
And that's usually stored in your browser.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, that is something you can still access.
But that's not affected, but it's just I as a browser searching for things through Free Spoke can know that you guys, like, I'm totally anonymous to you without the need for like some VPN or anything, like changing my IP, like anything like that.
And so right now you're searching for something, I'm searching for something in Free Spoke, we're going to see the same result. In Google, they know everything about you. And so they're always trying to they're trying to serve you because they want you to click and they want to make money. And that can be a positive thing. So they will feed you different results than they feed me. We're not doing that right now. Everything is anonymous and it's just the most recent relevant information in response to that search query. As we grow and you can set up your own account. You can block results in your own account right now. So that'll start to personalize your account. If you want to, in the future, create some sort of, I want more of this, I want less of that, right? Like personalize it, that you'll have the option to do that. But we don't want it, we're keeping that anonymized to your desire and we're not selling that. We're very much drawing the line that you're not the product. We're not going to take that information and sell it.
Yeah. How does that affect your strategy with advertisers? Because if advertisers, you can't pitch to advertisers, we're going to show your stuff to people who we know might like you.
Yeah, we've left it, in drawing that hard line, and our engineers really just are stalwart in it. We allow no pixels in those search pages because once you allow Facebook's pixel in there, then they start to glean information about your users and what they're doing and where they've been.
Yeah.
So you're right. So it makes it a lot harder to market. We can't retarget in those ways. We can't tell people, advertise in our product and we're going to tell you everything about these people and what they do and how they feel and what they bought last, so that is why a premium offering is a big part of our revenue strategy is people want to pay $30 a year to be the customer and be served. And if they're not paying, they will see privacy focused advertising, but we're just not capable of generating as much revenue off advertising because we're not taking your data.
So then will I not see so much of the weird ass clickbait?
Yeah, you won't.
Yeah.
It won't be in the product. That's
just won't even be there.
What's really fascinating is Google's founders wrote a paper in 2000 Larry Page and Sergey Brin. So people can go find this white paper from the year 2000. And they specifically say that advertising funded search engines have a disadvantage towards the customer. They give specific examples of like, if this was happening and then there'd be a conflict of the search engine showing this content over that because the person paid for an ad. And so we can't show this derogatory information about them, even though it's true, right? They spelled it out. And they said as a result, there needs to be a competitive search engine that's not funded through advertising. They just didn't get their wish because Google got addicted to that ad model and they can't get off of it now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard when you're on the treadmill.
It's generating a lot of money for them.
Yeah. Okay. So, I had a thought that sort of escaped me for a moment now. Okay. Wrap it up. I want to ask you a question. So, like, I'm in MarTech. That's sort of my world. There's like 20,000 something MarTech platforms now. It's ridiculous. How many, like, roundabout? How many search engines are there in the market?
Yeah, the ones that we would there's probably like I got to say them out loud to get to it. So you have Google and Bing that everybody knows. You have DuckDuckGo that I've mentioned. Brave would be our other competitor in this space that's privacy oriented and working to specialize on top of that. And then FreeSpoke is in that. And then Perplexity is your new kind of AI search engine that's taking off. So that's kind of the main landscape. And then there's probably Yandex is a Russian-based one that people really like because you can get around where Google is controlling information. So, you probably add like 6 or 7 more between smaller US and then like international.
So it's like it's a much smaller list for sure.
People laughed at us 6 years ago when we started this company, and now they're seeing the disruption, and we've laid the groundwork to be able to take advantage of it. But it's a smaller ecosystem just because people didn't think there was any way to compete.
Yeah. Okay. So what's something that you're excited about in this year? What's something that you think is going to be like people should be paying attention to?
For us, it's the fact that Google lost their search monopoly antitrust suit. And so remedies will be coming down this year where the government says, okay, we won. This is what you need to do to comply with this ruling. So it'll be really interesting to see how that opens up. AI is just like we were mentioning, DeepSeek was the latest thing this week, but there's always something new. So where can we get in here? And what I'm most excited about is there is an opportunity to tackle this technology space and make it work for human flourishing. We, as humans, we are in the physical space and we structure the physical space so we can flourish. We plug the outlets for our kids. We put floaties on them in the deep end. We have deer permits so we don't die on the highway with deer running everywhere, right? Like we have structure in the physical world so we flourish. This does not exist in the online world right now. So I think in this year to really tackle this, our company is really positioned to take off and say, we're here for you. We're here for you to flourish and to live in this space in a happy way that drives productivity and value.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a good note to end on. Okay, people can go to freespoke.com to use it. If they want to learn more about just what you guys are doing or get in touch with you, what's a good way to do that?
I'm happy to share my personal email. So it's my first name at freespoke.com, Kristin at freespoke.com, Kristin at freespoke.com. Yeah, feel free to reach out, give us feedback, check out the product, download it in your app store.
Awesome. And go Chiefs, right?
Go Chiefs. Here you go. 3-peat.
Hey, I'm actually going to be in Kansas in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll be flying through your neck of the woods.
Okay, well, let me know.
Yeah, I will. Hey, Kristin, this was awesome. This is really, I think, informative. I think it's important for us to bring these types of things to the forefront. So I appreciate you sharing this and what you guys are doing so that people can learn about FreeSpoke and just like have another perspective, and I think that's a big point of a lot of my heart behind doing this podcast is to bring people on and give some new perspectives on things. So thank you so much. And until next time, folks, Keep doing all that shizzle.
Happy 2025.
Yeah. Bye, guys.